probably come back and play WoW again at some point, but I will probably never play WoW again the same way that I used to. Because that was a period of time in my life, and I am not 18 again. Like, if I could go back in time and tell myself at 21 years old that, you know, like, oh, this is what happened, this is what's going to happen, I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't go back and tell myself, don't play WoW, it's going to ruin your life. I wouldn't say that ever. But at the same time, it doesn't mean I want to do it again.
And said he would return if an expansion actually excited him, but the way he describes his needs and wants from the game and the actual way the game is going,
yeah, it's not gonna happen.
He will ever
Let's
come
be
back
honest.
to retail.
This isn't really why I stopped playing retail WoW, but I'll say that it's one of the reasons, like, in general, it's one of the problems that I've had with the game is that, like, I want a game that is a masculine, aggressive game. It doesn't cover any of the...
this part? Yeah, this is never coming back. Yeah, no, yeah, this is done. I don't like the identity of WoW anymore. I don't like the culture of WoW anymore. And it's weird and cringe. What if you weren't a big streamer? Would you say you regretted it? No, because I had fun doing it. Why would I regret something that I enjoyed? Like, that doesn't even make sense. Of course not.
These social issues, and if it does, it's in like a mature way. I want a game with big sweaty men killing each other and dying for honor, tradition, glory, and their oath to their country and to their faction and to their allegiance to their king.
But he did recently state that he may come back for Classic Plus if done right.
Yep. I don't really play the game anymore because I don't really feel like there's anything for me to do in the game that's fulfilling. Now, I might change my mind in the future and feel differently about it, but right now, I don't really see any form of motivation for me to play WoW. I just don't want to do it. Would you play Classic Plus? Probably, yeah. I'm just trying to do what I feel like doing, and that's it.
So yeah, he will probably never come back. So while it might be sad to see him step away from being the face of WoW,
well, it's also that, I mean, and I want you guys to see, like, you look at how popular RuneScape is and how all the streamers immediately left WoW. The feeling that I have, a lot of other WoW streamers have the exact feeling that I have, but they can't capitalize on it because their audiences won't watch them make other content. A lot of people that are, this is the issue, is that people that are popular because they're good at one video game, whenever they move to play another video game, well, why would somebody watch them play that video game? They're not good at that game. And if people are watching you because you're good at a game and you stop playing the game that you're good at, why would anybody watch you? So a lot of these people, and this is what's happened with many people, right? Peekaboo did it? No, and I think that's what's happened with some of them. But again, a lot of the other ones try and fail. And that's it.
maybe it was time. As someone once said,
no king rules forever, my son.
But what do you think? Is there ever a world where we might see Asmongold bring back a transfer competition, or is he gone for good? I am excited on your guys' opinion. And if you enjoyed this video, let me know by liking this video and subscribe to my channel for more WoW related content, and I will see you guys on the next one.
There's a really interesting...
Would I go back and play WoW again? I mean, like, there was a lot of really good times, but I mean, I'm just not really, I'm not really feeling it, man. I'm just not. And you'll be back? Yeah, and I don't like making commitments. If the conclusion of the video isn't he realized after streaming Giant try to make more money doing React content, it's a waste of 9 minutes. Well, it's more than that. It's that I realized I could do more content besides just playing one video game and being locked into that one video game. I don't think people might realize how kind of constraining it is for a streamer. And like, this is a streamer problem, so like nobody really cares, but I'll just explain it to you. Is that whenever, I'll link you guys the video too, by the way. I appreciate the video, and I you know, it's crazy that this is even a conversation point, you know? It really is. Variety is the spice of life. Yeah, there it is. There's the video. Make sure to give it a like. The guy's nice. Is it burnout? I think it's just apathy more than anything else, right? And so, and I just wanted to move on and do other stuff. Go back to your routes, play, go back to your roots, play all the Halo games with your friends. Well, I don't know about that. A lot of streamers find it impossible to do something different. Yeah, because they can't. Like, how many streamers that are WoW streamers do you know that went from getting, like, let's say 1,000 viewers playing WoW, and they play another game and they get less than 100? And the reason why is that they have boring personalities and nobody wants to watch them. And the only reason why they're popular is because they're good at that one individual video game. And so the moment that they stop playing that game, they're not going to be instantly good at every other video game, obviously. And so there's no reason for them to do that. So they're stuck inside of WoW. They can't move out of WoW. And so I think that's another big reason why. What about Shroud? I mean, what do you mean? What are you talking about Shroud for? Like, I'm talking about WoW. Like, the Shroud's not a WoW streamer. He's played WoW before, but like, he's always played WoW. But like, that's not what I'm talking about. And so, yeah, that's it. And Ongbal likes to different. Well, Ongbal, like, he does YouTube videos, right? I mean, it's a very different situation, right? It's not an MMO anymore. It's a seasonal ARPG. Yeah, definitely. Nobody cares anymore. That's it. This is either the 4th or 5th time that he quit WoW. That is not true.
That is not true
at all. I've taken breaks from the game that have been like maybe a few weeks, but actually quitting the game and not playing at all, like, I have never stopped playing the game for this long of a period of time, and I haven't even stopped playing the game for 10% of this long of a period of time. Like, yeah, you quit hardcore twice? Well, no, I'm saying, like, about this, right? Yeah, you never quit. And also, yeah, I might go back and play it again. But that's it. I figured out that the interaction content takes less effort, gives more gains. That's all he does. People grow out of that shit. I've always found it to be weird that some commenters think that it takes more skill and it's more difficult to play a video game than it is to watch a YouTube video. I don't know, like, this has always been like this weird Twitch delusion that people have. Like, playing a video game is somehow harder work than just simply looking at a video. I'm gonna tell you guys the truth. They're both really fucking easy, okay? And if you want my honest opinion, I think playing a video game and streaming is easier than watching videos and streaming. And I'll tell you why. It's because when I'm watching videos and streaming, I have to actively be thinking about what I'm doing. Now, I think that a lot of people compare it to the way that they watch YouTube videos. But if you're reacting to a video and you're trying to actually make it entertaining and compelling to people, you have to actually be locked in and paying attention to what you're doing. And so, yeah, games, both are leisure activities. Yeah, and also both of these are just, they're both just for fun, right? I mean, that's it. And so a few days ago, he's going to play Midnight on release. That's true. His mom no longer plays. Easy hot take that no one stated. The crazy thing is that I think he's kind of right. I do think having my mom, like, not play WoW anymore and, like, her, like, passing away, like, that was definitely... That was, like, a connection I had to the game. And, you know, I would see her on and, you know, we'd play together, and that's not the case anymore. Yeah. That's really it. Yeah, no, he's right. Yeah, no, it's definitely like, I mean, because I had so many good memories and so much nostalgia for that. Yeah, I mean, straight up. Like, I mean, I'll tell you that that's what it is. I bet when Midnight comes out, I'll be playing it again. Yeah, I'll play Midnight for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's a new game release. I mean, I play all new game releases, or as many of them as I can. So yeah, it feels great not getting baited into their expansions anymore. Don't care if he never returns. He's just one of many. That's true, but it's undeniable that the amount of content that I made for Retail WoW eclipsed any other streamer. Like, I was 10x any other streamer, probably more than that, any other streamer in the game, besides obviously when Chance or Mitch would play. But besides that, I mean, nobody else even came remotely close. And the reason why, I'll tell you the reason why, it's because they're boring. They're boring. Like, they're boring, and they would just, like, they thought that the content was being good at the game. And that's not how I ever saw it. They keep removing only rewards from previous season that people cared about? Yeah, I don't know. And do you think game companies realize how valuable that is, especially whenever you stop? Well, I mean, having a player stop playing the game, I think having streamers play the game does matter a lot. And also, if anybody thinks that streamers don't matter to a video game, if streamers don't matter to the video game, then why are companies paying streamers millions of dollars to play the video game? That seems confusing. Why would you pay so much money for something that didn't even matter? That seems very silly. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't know you're watching. Yeah, it's best form of advertising, to be honest. I mean, yeah, definitely. Of course it is. You're assaulting those companies, but you're assuming those companies are smart. They are smart. And also, like, as somebody who's been behind both sides of this, having streamers play video games absolutely brings attention to the game, and it is a benefit. I mean, companies have been doing this for 10 years now, right? I mean, do we really think that they don't have any data on this? They don't have any idea of, like, whether this is valuable or not? Of course they do. That's why they're doing it. They're investing tens, hundreds of millions of dollars into this over a decade, and you think they have no idea whether they're getting an investment return or not? Come on, obviously they are. So yeah, did it work for Shadows? No, not always, but it maybe helped. And so yeah, do you feel like the traditional MMO skill bloat is too much? I just prefer, right now, I prefer playing single-player games and small one-off games. And I think that's also what my viewers prefer, too. And like, streaming is, like, one element of it, but, like, what do I do on my free time? Am I playing these games even on my free time? The answer is absolutely not. Because, like, in order to play an MMO and to be proficient in the MMO, I feel like you have to play it all the time. And I don't want to commit my time to that anymore. When your brain gets seared with a jarring event like Death of the Level and you get associated to it, it's no longer enjoyable. Well, I don't know about that. I mean, it's not really that, it's not that heavy, but in a general sense, that's the way I feel about it, right? And so, yeah, I mean, that's the reason why. So are you gonna play Midnight? Yeah, I'll try it out for new content, for sure. And anyway, streamers, he's just a normal player, nothing special, and nothing was lost. A lot of people, and this is also another issue that I think WoW players have. WoW players think that streamers don't matter. Streamers absolutely matter. Why do you think Blizzard went out of their way to do all of those things for OnlyFans? Why do you think Blizzard is paying people to play their games? The reason why is because streamers have a massive influence and they can create a huge impact on a game. And nobody wants to admit that. A lot of people don't like to admit that because maybe it makes them feel like stupid, or it makes them feel like, oh, well, it's unfair. But it's absolutely true. Yeah, it's 100% true. Yep.
Well, he did have Final Fantasy at that time. Final Fantasy and Dark Souls. I gotta watch him play Dark Souls again. I would watch that. It's good times.
I was gonna watch something of mine. Let's see, what would be a good video to watch? Arcade? No, I'm gonna watch that too. But I want to actually react to that. Like, this is just something I'm gonna put on. You look tired. Like, somebody can have like fucking 3 million followers on TikTok, and they have 20,000 followers on Twitter, and they get like 200 likes. Nobody gives a shit. So like TikTok is like, you can blow up on TikTok, but it's very contained.
There's content there which
There
can
are
be seen
people
as
that break that
entertaining,
mold though.
but
Is on a million fucking articles. You've got thousands of people messaging her, telling her to kill herself, and like this person basically put themselves in the crosshairs of thousands and maybe millions. Came out, but I never did. What was the hardest raid in your opinion in the last 4 expansions for retail? I mean, Sepulchre. Like, numerically speaking, Sepulchre was the hardest raid. Before Sepulchre, I would say probably Tomb of Sargeras. Yeah, if I had to say, like, let me go. Actually, wait a second. No, if you're counting, like, Crucible of Storms, Crucible Mythic, Ashara, I think Avatar's harder than Ashara. Or Kil'jaeden's harder than Ashara. Ashara was ridiculously complex. Kil'jaeden and Avatar were ridiculously hard. Ashara dance was nightmarish? Dude. I feel like the Ashara dance for a good guild was easy. You'd never wipe on that. You have a weak aura, it literally tells you, run in this circle, stupid. Okay. That's it. Gahoon? I feel like Gahoon wasn't really hard, it was just a pain in the ass. I don't know, you probably, that's a question for Max or Scripe or one of the guys in one of the top end guilds. That's my read on it, but I didn't really prog, sitting at home all day. Listen, look, let me show you. Here, I'll explain it to you.
Home chillin' and I think I want some tendies. Mommy, go to the store, hurry, get them quickly. Good boy points, no need for cash. Doing chores around the house, always a blast. Got my good boy points, that's all I need in my life. If I got them, everything is alright. Mama's boy, no, call me a good boy thug. Just stay in bed all day, got my peaches. So hurry up and get my motherfucking tendies. Oh, make sure they fresh, cause I need them very crispy. All the normies, they don't understand. They so jealous, probably a secret fan. I just stay in the basement, play games all day. I'm only in my 20s, so I guess it's okay. Now my mommy just got back, hope she went to Wendy's. My stomach keep growling for those motherfucking tendies. Yeah. Yeah.
No fucking shot, it has Mountain Dew game fuel. No fucking shot, oh my god. Bro, they made this video before I even did OTK. It was 2019. And a crown.
My tendies.
Holy shit.
Come on.
Fuck yeah, man. That's a winner right there. Look at that. That's a fucking winner. Yeah, easy foreshadowing. Wow. Gimme chicken tendies? I don't remember that. There's a lot, there's one better. Is there really? I don't know if there is or not. This one here? Are you and McConnell now on good term? No, we're fine. Like, what do you mean? Yeah, we're totally fucking fine. Alright, I mean, it's like I think they like kind of have to ban somebody for that, right? I mean, it's not even really a choice. So I don't know, man. Yeah, in a private message? No, it was in a chat room. I'm pretty sure it was in chat. It was offline chat banter. Yeah. 30 days is crazy though. 30 days. I mean, I don't know, man. Like, sex is 7 days, is Twitch day, but like, sex doesn't hurt anybody, and threatening to, like, don't you see, like, there's a clear person that's like a victim here if they're being threatened. Yeah, I mean, I think it's funny to say that, but whenever you logically think about it, I think that threatening somebody is like 1,000 times worse than having sex on stream. I don't know, I think it is. Twitch is liable for E-Rob? Yeah, exactly. Like, they just they have to do something about it. I mean, it's 30 days is a long, very long time. I don't know why it had to be 30 days, but like, I could see why they would do it. I mean, I don't know what he was thinking saying that either. I think it was just stupid to say that. Any reasonable person would have said not to say that. Let me go put this on, actually. Got the tanking chest on. Okay. We got the quest outside. If you haven't gotten the 20 slot bag yet, I have. I have the quest, I mean. All right. I think we're pretty much good to go, right? Yeah, let's go ahead and start. How do we start it? Yeah, somebody start the thing. 6 hours, 1 trinket. Why don't you play with a guild? I mean, it's just make. I mean, a lot of people that are in here are in my guild. Sunwell Plateau taking 6 hours. Well, that's an understatement, but yeah, somewhere around there. Hit it. Let's do it. I gotta get the ring out of this dungeon. Sunwell's very nerfed now. Yes, so are some other players that I play with. That's the problem. What is this? Fresh server IQ is worse than Ragnaros. I think that a lot of people that join streamer pugs are usually going to be clowns. Like, that's just the truth. I mean, it's. I mean, a lot of them are fine, but like, you have a lot of them that just like they're there to be on the show or on the stream, and they care more about that than being good at the game. Okay. We're just gonna go ahead and group loot everything until we get to the last boss, okay, guys? Because that's the boss that I need the loot from. Because, like, I don't want to deal with, like, fucking, you know, people rolling on shit, etc. Easy loot. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Let's do it. Damn, I fucking forgot how this shit works. Okay, taunting all this. This shit's easy. Like, I still, like, it's so weird for me to do ZA now. Because, like, I feel like it was way harder back whenever I did it when I was a kid. Like, I remember this shit was, like, impossible to do. Like, it was a struggle to even get up here in 19 minutes. And, like, now we go up there in, like, 2 pulls. It's nerfed? I mean, like, nah, bro. Like, it's okay, guys. Because that's the boss that I need the loot from. Because, like, I don't want to deal with, like, fucking, you know, people rolling on shit, etc. Easy loot. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Let's do it. Damn, I fucking forgot how this shit works. Okay, taunting all this. This shit's easy. Like, I still, like, it's so weird for me to do ZA now. Because, like, I feel like it was way harder back whenever I did it when I was a kid. Like, I remember this shit was, like, impossible to do. Like, it was a struggle to even get up here in 19 minutes. And, like, now we go up there in, like, 2 pulls. It's nerfed? I mean, like, nah, bro. Like, it was still easy. It was easy even before this. Alright, let's go.
I be the predator, you the prey.
Okay. It's better for me to have aggro because I do like a lot of reflective damage with like revenge. But I have to stack Sunders at the beginning, which does bad aggro. So let me try to get aggro at the start. It doesn't really matter though, keep that in mind. Don't forget to loot the chests. Well, anybody can loot them. Okay. Next boss, let's go. You're on fucking box monitors back then? Yep, I was. Like the big ol' CRT monitors, exactly. Okay, what the fuck is this? Leather, spell crit, who cares? CRT very punchable? Yeah, it is. You can punch one of those and it's totally fine. Alright, let's do it. I don't know, where's everybody else? Am I alone? I think I'm alone. Yeah, there's nobody here. I'm sure they'll be here soon, right guys? Surely. Okay, we gotta lay on hands. Good job.
Yeah, so I was looking up, wanted to see the last time that Aspen played WoW. Apparently it was 2022. Literally has not played it since, hasn't streamed it since. I don't know if he hasn't played it. Presumably he hasn't played it since then either.
Like, kill everybody before they do any mechanics.
So,
let me pick these guys up from behind us.
There's that. I wanted to say that he doesn't play any video games, but he was playing something. I don't know what it was. It got like a 6 on IGN, which is like, it got lower rated than Concord, and he was like, I'm gonna play this and check that out. Played it for a little bit. I don't know, it looked like a mix of like Sekiro and Ghost of Tsushima. I wasn't very interested.
Okay. Warrior's so busted in Wrath? Fuck. No, it's totally fine. Yeah, I don't know what you mean. Yep, everybody else just sucks. No more waiting for Booba? Yeah, true. Alright, let's go.
Gods, go already! Who you be more afraid of, huh? Them?
Let's go. How's Frosty K and Wrath? It's okay.
Right now.
Like, I personally like, I remember I played a lot of Unholy, I think. That was what I did a lot. I have to remember, like, what the other ones were, even. Like, what the spec played like. Because I don't remember. It's been a very, very long time. This one, DK, is just taunt whenever I get a, whenever he changes forms. Yeah, like, one of us tanks one form, the other one tanks the other form. It's pretty simple.
Wish they was never home.
Frosty K, ever running more build? And Wrath, doing it wrong? Well, I mean, you just pop off. Like, the thing is, like, you never want to play a build that doesn't do top damage. Like, that's the way I look at it. Is like, every build, like, I don't care whether I'm playing DPS or tank. Whatever does more damage, that's what I play. Alright, let's go.
Soon enough.
Trying to get Sunders on him.
Bring the pain!
Okay, now we should just be deep dicking him. Yeah, it's like being able to cast this over and over is just crazy. Okay, you didn't listen.
Bring the pain!
It's okay. Just don't worry about it.
You call the beast. You gonna get more than you
Okay.
make
Good
way
job.
for the Netherite.
Very proud of you. Amazing skill, gentlemen. Absolutely incredible. I don't know why there's no TBC Classic to install on TBC Launcher. I have no idea. Maybe it says Wrath Classic now. What y'all doing? What y'all doing? Hey. Let's go, boys. Quest item for those that need it. Oh, yeah, okay. That makes sense. Oh. I think I had this back in the day. Let's go. Just kill these scouts and have this spawn. Yeah, that one's probably gonna get away, unfortunately. Yep, there we go. Well, you know what that means, guys. We've got 2 more mobs for the AoE pile. We can't be letting that happen. Good job.
You know, I guess I did still play a little bit. That's what it is.
That one's probably going to get away, unfortunately.
The Tides of Torment DLC arrives along with new units for Slaanesh, Norska and the High Elves. Let's take a look at them all and see what they're all about. Norska first with Legendary Lord Sail the Faithless. Now, on foot and on horseback, he doesn't have great combat stats. He is very much a squishy wizard, so keep him out of melee, unless you get him on his chariot where he can charge around, or a War Mammoth mount where, of course, he's going to love a bit of melee. As a wizard, he has a mixed lore book of the Lore of Shadows and the Lore of Heavens. In terms of abilities, I'm going to mouse over them all, but pause the video if you want to read them. I'm not going to talk about all of them. He has Nightmare, which is basically just a little wind spell, Skullcane's Teeth, which is a magic missile, a very strong one at that, but overall his magic and abilities are all geared towards damage dealing mostly, so he's very much just a damage dealing wizard. He does get a couple of nice passives when casting as well. The Viperous Staff, this will give him some defensive abilities when he casts. That comes from one of his items, and also Backstabbing Sorcery, which whenever an enemy caster is on the map and they cast a spell, they'll take direct damage. You don't even have to do anything. So Sail the Faithless, a wizard all about bringing the pain. Next, a new generic lord for Norska, the Great Shaman Sorcerer. There's one of Death, Fire, or Metal. Similar to Sail in that they're a squishy wizard, keep them out of melee, but they get the same mount, so potential on that War Mammoth. Abilities wise, they have the usual sort of stuff, except for Offering to the Gods. This will be able to be cast on a friendly unit, and it will take some of their health, but give them a big damage boost in return. So that's a pretty cool little spell. But otherwise, this lord, along with Sail, are both great additions for Norska because they never had any caster lords before. And then we have a legendary hero, Bjorg Bearstruck. This big lad is very much a tank of a character. He's got quite a lot of health, more melee defense than melee attack, decent armor, is anti-large as well, armor piercing, so he's going to be tanky, but he can still do some damage. A lot of his abilities are geared towards tankiness, like the Bear Fang Talisman, that's a 40% damage resistance for 22 seconds. Regeneration is going to make him tough. He also has Guardian, so he can protect other lords and heroes. Thrill of Battle, he gets more melee defense the longer he spends in combat, so he's just going to be an absolute beefcake of a hero to try and get rid of, although he does have a weakness to fire, but still very tanky, got some damage output as well, very dangerous. And then we have another hero, the Fimir Noble, not far dissimilar from the current Fimir hero, the Bale Fiend. That one is a caster though, this one is more melee focused, does have the magical attacks and armor sundering, so maybe he wants to pick more specific targets to go after to make use of those things. His abilities are a mixture of buffing himself up, whether offensively or defensively, but also some buffs for allies as well. He does cause terror, which is always useful too, but otherwise just a good general use hero. Doesn't do anything specifically well or anything unique, but just offers a nice reliable melee hero. Now for Norskan infantry, beginning with Marauder Bearmen. These are basically Chaos Marauders, just tougher. They've got about 2,000 more health, they've got more armor, more melee defense, a little more leadership. The rage ability will make them tougher as they fight as well. So they're kind of the middle ground between Chaos Marauders and Marauder Champions. So if you want a slightly tougher frontline that's still quite reasonably priced, Bearmen are going to be a good choice for that, although for a little more money you could get Berserkers, who arguably would just be a better choice anyway. And then we have Marauder Bearmen with great weapons, who are straight up just armor piercing, again kind of like the Chaos Marauder great weapons, just a bit tougher. Health, melee defense, leadership, etc. So these maybe have a little more use than the regular Marauder Bearmen because they're armor piercing. You've got the low tier armor piercing unit in Chaos Marauder Great Weapons, you've got the high tier one in Marauder Champion Great Weapons, and now you've got a mid tier one with Marauder Bearmen Great Weapons. So handy for armor piercing when you can't afford Marauder Champions. And then there's the Worshippers of the Crow, a regiment of renowned Marauder Great Weapons, kind of Nurgle theme, marked by Nurgle. And yeah, they're basically just the Nurgle Great Weapon Marauders, to be honest. Obviously though, they're related to the Allegiance campaign mechanic for Norska, where you have of the Crow, of the Snake, of the Chimp, whatever. But yeah, within the roster, they offer a little bit of melee attack debuff from the Swarm of Flies, but otherwise not really bringing a great deal. A new unit that is bringing a great deal though is the Kurgan Horsemen. These ones with dual weapons. They are a light melee cav. They don't have a lot of armor, they don't have a lot of melee defense, and pretty low leadership. So to look at their stats, you might think they kind of suck, but they do have the secret weapon of Devastating Flanker and Frenzy. Vanguard deployment useful there as well, but Devastating Flanker with their 40 charge bonus, that'll become an 80 charge bonus. And so yeah, they can really dish out the punishment bonus versus infantry as well. So hammer and anvil the bejesus out of your enemies and they will do good work for you, but try to use them charging head on into other cavalries, they are going to get dumped on. There's also a great weapon version as well, which is pretty much the same thing, just bringing that armor piercing. So again, hammer and anvil, obviously the heavier armored targets will be better for this lot. But yeah, like I say, try to avoid them taking any kind of charge, and they should do pretty damn well for you. Nice to see Norska finally have a melee cav, and something a little bit different rather than just giving them a heavy cav. They've given them this speedy, terrifying cav, only if you use them right though. And then another regiment of renown, Riders of the Mighty Serpent, again another allegiance themed unit. So it's Marauder horsemen, but their missile strength is pretty damn strong at 39, that's about double what the normal ones have. They've also got a physical resistance and an ability Battle Song, which will buff the leadership of nearby friendly units. It's quite a short range on it though, so I'm not sure how useful it is, but they can put out some good damage with their missile attack. And then another one of these themed units, this time of the Great Eagle, so Zinchi themed. This is a Chaos Marauder chariot. It's got warp fire, so it'll give that weakness to fire, and of course they have fire damage to make use of that. So it should be able to do some nice damage, especially if it's against any units weak to fire already, and they add this on top. Plus the magical attacks mean it'll be good against demons and such, but otherwise it's mostly just a Marauder chariot. And then, even with this game being 10 years old, CA have found a way to make a unique new unit, and that is the Dreadmore. Look at it. Look at how great it is. What? You can't see it? That's because it's underground, dummy. So this thing is literally burrowed underground, and you move it around that way, so it can't be damaged while it's down there. And once you've positioned it where you want it, you can hit its activatable ability to make it burst out the ground and flop around like a dick in the wind. What? This is actually kind of its main strength though. If you position it under an enemy unit and then burst it out the ground underneath them, it's going to do a good bit of damage just from that. And then of course it can fight in melee. It also has a ranged attack, so it can spit some crap at enemies. And 200 range on that is pretty nice, so it's kind of a little bit of an artillery piece for Norska, something they didn't have before. It also has stalk, so the enemies aren't going to know it's there. It's immune to flanking, so it won't lose any melee defense when attacked in the side or back. And if that wasn't enough, it causes terror as well. However, it has an ability that means it will rout and run away forever if it routes once. So you've got 70 leadership. If you lose all of that and it routes, it ain't coming back. So you got to be a bit careful with it, but otherwise a very cool new monster for Norska. And onto another new monster, the Quadrahead Chimera. This is a flying melee monster. It's got a breath attack as well. Is also immune to flanking too, like the Dreadmore. Got pretty chunky armor-piercing damage, generally good combat stats, and magical attacks as well as fire attacks. And fire attacks is actually something missing from the Norscan roster. They don't really have a lot of that, so that is something quite useful for them. But otherwise, with the Manticore and the Frostworm, other flying monsters already in the roster, this isn't bringing anything massively new, but could probably be useful for getting after a bunch of different targets. And then there's also a Regiment Renown version of this, the Bloodshriek Chimera. Pretty much the same deal, just a few improved combat stats, and it has the ability to heal itself only when it's out of combat and on the ground though. This comes from an activatable ability that will last 48 seconds and give it stalk, so it can basically hide and heal and then get back into combat. No limit on its uses as well, just a 2-minute cooldown. So pretty nice and a little bit of a different approach for a monster being able to heal itself, not just regeneration. And then we have the Cursed Etin, a giant-like monster, and honestly it's very similar to the Norscan giant that already exists, especially in its combat stats. It does have a couple of useful passive abilities though. One, when it's above 50% health, it'll have plus 15% speed, so it'll actually be pretty quick for a giant. It'll get extra charge bonus, glorious charge, so it'll get double charge bonus for its first 50% of health, and unyielding assault, so its melee attack will never go down, at least for its first 50% of health. When it does drop below 50% health, it will then gain a different buff which will give it a damage boost, reduce its melee defense a little bit, but will give it a constant heal. So basically overall a juiced up Norscan giant that's actually kind of speedy and can heal itself a bit. Pretty nasty. And then there's the Cursed Etin Runecaller. Basically the same thing, has magical attacks now though, and doesn't have armor piercing damage. It has those same 2 abilities, but comes with 3 bound spells: Doom and Darkness, Flock of Doom, and Enfeebling Foe. So still a big damage dealing monster, but with a bit more utility from those spells. Very nice. And that about wraps up the Norscan roster. Let's move on now onto the High Elves, starting with the new legendary lord, Sea Lord Aisling. On foot, combat stats are pretty decent, a bit more defensive than offensive, doesn't have armor piercing damage, does have the bonus versus infantry though, so decent at fighting in crowds, but who cares about that because obviously you want him on a Skycutter mount as soon as possible, where he basically becomes a flying chariot. Still doesn't have armor piercing damage though, so you may want him on his Star Dragon mount eventually instead. although the Sky Cutter may be better for charging around and dropping one of his many support abilities. Like Iron-Handed Captain, this can instantly rally a routed unit, that's very cool. He's got this buff to missile units, so he can put out some damage in certain situations in certain ways, and he has some nice support abilities, but otherwise maybe not bringing anything hugely new to the High Elf Lord roster. And then a new generic lord for the High Elves, the Sea Helm. Again, quite defensive, got more melee defense than melee attack, got the silver shield, charge reflection. Somehow no armor piercing, even with that massive pointy trident he's got there. But still, being an anti-large foot lord has its uses, so if you need that, here he is. But he can also get a Great Eagle or Lothan Skycutter mount, which will give him nice mobility, although he will lose that anti-large bonus and still doesn't have armor piercing, so he'll need to look for the lighter targets primarily. For his abilities, he's got a mixture of offensive and defensive ones, some for him, some for allies. He does have a nice one in Tamakador's Gauntlets. This will basically make him better at fighting large things whenever they are nearby. So overall, seems like a decent choice if you're looking for a generic lord that is focused more on anti-large. Although if that's what you're after, you may want a Caradryan hero, a melee specialist with armor piercing and bonus versus large. So kind of very similar to the Sea Helm Lord, just without the shield. In terms of mounts, he can get a horse, a chariot, or his own unique Phoenix mount, which still keeps him anti-large and armor piercing. In terms of abilities, he's got a bunch of damage boosts for himself. He does have a heal that he can cast on a friendly small size unit, and he has the Mark of Azurian, which when he drops below 25% health will give him a direct damage effect on any nearby enemies for the rest of his life. So that can be pretty strong. If he gets beaten up, he's still going to be pretty dangerous. Overall, just really a better version of the existing noble hero for the High Elves. And lastly, in the High Elf character department, the Mist Mage. He's very much a squishy wizard, and much like Balthazar Gelt, if you throw a cheese sandwich hard enough at his face at the right angle, you'll probably knock him out. So keep him away from the melee and the buffet, I guess. But you can put him on a Great Eagle or Lothan Skycutter mount, so Rune Caller. Basically the same thing, has magical attacks now though, and doesn't have armor piercing damage. It has those same two abilities, but comes with 3 bound spells: Doom and Darkness, Flock of Doom, and Enfeebling Foe. So still a big damage cheap unit for the High Elves. It's a tier 1 unit. It's basically the equivalent of like Bleak Swords or Empire Swordsman. So basically the High Elves' first proper chaffy unit, because Spearmen are a little more expensive, but you're going to use them in a similar way. They have that silver shield like the Spearmen do, so this just gives you an option to be a little bit better against infantry, but I feel like a lot of people might still prefer the more tanky holding power of the Spearmen, plus bonus versus large. But a decent option to fill up your army with cheaper units if you want to. And then there's a Regiment of Renown version of these boys as well, Company of the Calandarian. These again are a low tier unit, but they have armor piercing damage, and that's pretty nice for the High Elves because they don't really have any cheap armor piercing units, whether infantry, missiles, cavalry. The cheapest you're going to get is White Lions or War Lions, and they're not cheap and take a while to acquire. So a nice addition for the High Elf roster. And then we have another infantry regiment of renown, the Blades of Hoeth. They are, of course, a juiced up version of the Homasters of Sordeth, and largely that's all there is to them. They're just a better version of those. Very strong though, do have great combat stats, do have Guardian as well, so they could act as a bodyguard unit if they could stay near a lord. Although most of those go on pretty mobile mounts, so maybe heroes would be a better hero bodyguard unit. But yeah, strong addition for the High Elf roster, giving them an infantry that can deal with some of the toughest infantries in the game. And then we have what many have been waiting for, the Lothan Skycutters. So these are flying chariots, but also ranged chariots. So you could use them strictly as a skirmish unit, just doing missile damage and wearing things down. They've got magical attacks on their strong missile attack too, but they can function just as a chariot as well, charging around, flying down and smashing stuff and then flying off again. They don't have a lot of melee defense, so they won't want to stay in prolonged combat. But to aid their charging around, they do have an ability called Momentum, which will give them a pretty big speed boost and charge boost and mass boost, so they'll hit hard when they do that charging. And this version has bows, so it can fire 360, but then there's also this version, which is an Eagle Claw bolt thrower version. So you've got that bolt thrower on there instead of bows, which means they are now one directional like an artillery, but they still have pretty good range at 250, not as much as the ground bolt thrower, but still good damage. Still got the option of an anti-large missile or an anti-infantry type of missile, and being shorter range, it actually kind of makes it more accurate, so it's better than the regular bolt thrower. These, with their mobility, are going to be pretty nasty and very dangerous in the High Elf roster. I'm not sure how I feel about elves getting such a good unit. Can we please give these to orcs instead? Thank you. And then we have the Oceanids, a first for the High Elf roster, as it is a monster like an artillery, but they still have pretty good range at 250, not as much as the ground bolt thrower, but still good damage, still got the option of an anti-large missile or an anti-infantry type of missile, and being shorter range, it actually kind of makes it more accurate, so it's better than the regular bolt thrower. These, with their mobility, are going to be pretty nasty and very dangerous in the high elf roster. I'm not sure how I feel about elves getting such a good unit. Can we please give these to orcs instead? Thank you. And then we have melee defense. They do have a bonus versus infantry though, so that is going to be important for them with low melee attack. They really need to fight infantry and nothing else. But should be a pretty good unit to help hold the line. Unless magical attacks are on the field, then they're in trouble. They do have perfect vigor, immune to contact effects, a resistance to fire, all the stuff you'd expect from a unit that's made of water. But overall, a pretty interesting unit to the game and the high elf roster. And if you just rather have one big pile of water, you could get the Sea Elemental instead, which is very much the same setup. No armor, big melee defense, physical resistance. Melee attack is decent though, and does have that bonus versus infantry still. Armor piercing. This thing's actually pretty good in all areas. You can take on monsters, you can take on cavalry, you can take on infantry. It's pretty well rounded. It also comes with a bound spell, the Writhing Mist from the new Lore of Mists. And honestly, I can't really explain that spell very well in a short space of time. It's like 3 spells in one, but I'll have a guide going over those spells soon anyway. But for now, just know it's a good spell with some good utility, albeit a bit weird. Also, when this thing gets below 25% health, it will spawn a unit of Oceanids to help it out, so you get a free monstrous infantry if it gets in trouble too. Again, another great unique addition for the high elf roster. And there's another one coming with the Moorworm. This big boy, you probably can't tell from looking at it here, but it's about the size of a Dreadsaurian, so it's absolutely huge. Got a lot of health, got a lot of good combat stats, of course, big weapon strength, which is also a bonus versus large, so it's kind of an anti-large monster. Armor piercing, also has regeneration, so it's going to be a tough bastard to kill. And you might think, hey, I'll just bring a lot of missiles. Well, it has an ability for that. Abyssal Cloak will give it a 360 missile protection and a little bit of extra block chance, plus it already has a 25% missile resistance anyway, so yeah, gonna be a tough nightmare to get rid of. A very different new addition for the high elf roster again. They've had dragons, of course, and single entities before, but never a big tanky chunker like this. And then there's Select One Eye, a Regiment of Renown version. Same thing, better stats. This one just comes with Enfeebling Cold and Area Hex that will reduce nearby enemy charge bonus, charge speed, and melee attack a little bit, so it's not that useful and not really that different from the regular one. But that's enough of talking about stupid elves. Let's move on to the sexy stuff to the Slaanesh roster then, starting with, of course, Dekala, the Denied One. Snake Lady with many arms and many swords. She's got great combat stats all across the board apart from the armor department, but she's got a physical resistance and a fair bit of melee defense. But for damage output, she's got that bonus versus infantry, armor piercing, magical attacks as well, so she's just going to want to try and murder infantry primarily, but she does stack up pretty well against characters too. She's also very quick at 75 speed and has devastating flanker, so she's going to want to make use of that charging around. For her abilities, she has 3 that are mutually exclusive. You can only have one of them active at a time. One boosts her damage but reduces her defenses. The others boost her defenses but put down her damage, so you can use those in different ways and in different situations. She also has this, the Elixir of Damnation, reduces enemy melee attack by 100%, so that's going to help her stay alive. So overall, a nasty damage dealing lord, but you can make her a little more tanky if the situation calls for it. So quite versatile. And then another new legendary lord for Slaanesh, the Mask of Slaanesh. Now technically she's not in the DLC, she's free LC, but we'll put her in here anyway. Honestly, quite similar to Dekala in terms of stats and performance, still very fast, still got the bonus versus infantry, magical attacks, armor piercing. Does count as a small entity though, whereas Dekala counts as large, so that's a bit of a difference. And again, similar to Dekala, 3 mutually exclusive abilities, but where Dekala's were all about her, the Mask's abilities are more about supporting allies or debuffing enemies, depending on whoever's near her at the time. So you want to move between those 3 different things, depending on the situation, depending on what effect you might like to bring, so she's more of a support lord rather than Dekala, who's the straight damage dealer killer. And the same with her Staff of Masks item, it will heal nearby allies or direct damage nearby enemies. Now for a new generic lord, the Chaos Sorcerer Lord of Slaanesh. These are actually pretty tanky wizards, not squishy ones, so save your cheese sandwiches. They can do alright in the melee, and of course they'll bring the magic. You've got the Lore of Slaanesh or Lore of Shadows options. And for mounts you can get a horse, a war shrine, or the new demonic steed, which is basically Titty Snake, which will make him very quick at 100 speed. In terms of abilities, he has the Black Tongue. This can silence an enemy unit, so whether Lord, Hero, maybe units as well, if they have abilities or spells they can use, he can stop that. Otherwise, has a few usual wizardy support abilities, so a nice slightly tougher Lord option for Slaanesh. Next, a legendary hero, Steercar of the Swordsveneer. This creepy motherfucker is slightly tanky with 80 armor, silver shield, big melee defense, big weapon strength as well, although not armor piercing, sulfuric musk on his melee attack, can get a Steed of Slanesh mount or, again, Booby Snake. In terms of abilities, he's got quite the mixture. He's got some damage boosts, he's got an explosion spell, he's got demonic whispers where he can increase the leadership of a demonic unit. With the chaos armor, he can get a defensive ability as well, and the sign of depravity. This will increase or decrease friendly or enemy speed based on nearby wavering units, up to 75%, so pretty substantial, and some other buffs and debuffs there as well. So an interesting hero with just a lot going on. He's got some defensive stuff, he's got some offensive stuff, he's got some support stuff, bit of an all-rounder. And then you've got the Exalted Hero of Slanesh, a melee hero, pretty good stats all across the board, silver shield, got a charge defense and charge reflection, no armor piercing damage though, so not far dissimilar to Steercar just now, just a good reliable generic melee hero, something Slanesh was lacking before. You only had the Cultist, the Alorus, and maybe the Chaos Sorcerer, so you didn't really have anyone dedicated to being kind of tougher in melee. They can get a Chaos Steed, a Demonic Steed, or a Chariot mount as well. In terms of abilities, a couple of damage boosts and a few debuffs to enemies, so a little bit of a support hero in there, but largely going to be focusing on the melee and looking for those unarmored crowds preferably. And then another melee hero, the Druki Anointed. This a little bit more on the damage dealer side, doesn't have the biggest weapon strength, but armor piercing and a bonus versus infantry, big melee attack, can get a cold one or demonic steed mount. And the extra selling point of this, alongside being a melee hero, you do get 3 bound spells you can use. One of them, Soul Stealer, always a pretty good spell, but perhaps more the choice if you want an armor-piercing hero. And onto the infantry, starting with a Beastmen unit, completing the 4 mono-god units. Alongside Pestigors, Korngors, and Zangors, we now have Slangors. These are mostly an anti-infantry melee infantry, got that bonus versus infantry. And then the usual Beastmen stuff, Vanguard deployment, Strider, etc. And they have an ability called Pleasure Through Pain. When they take damage, they will get an increasing buff that increases their melee attack, charge bonus, and speed. Speed being the most interesting one because it goes up to 30%, so they'll be running around at cavalry speed essentially. But they're already pretty fast at 50 speed, so fitting in with the Slanesh roster nicely, I suppose. Although maybe not bringing anything terribly new because Slanesh already has a bunch of strong infantry. And they got another one as well in the Devotees of Slanesh. Again, an anti-infantry unit. This one's sort of on the tougher side. They don't have much armor, but they've got more melee defense than melee attack and a 20% physical resistance. They also have the ability Murderous Euphoria, which is a 3-stage attack. They basically gain more damage the longer they fight. So a nice, maybe slightly tougher infantry option for Slanesh, although again, a lot of good options in the Slanesh infantry roster already. A pretty huge one for Slanesh next though, the Devotees of Slanesh with crossbows. The first ranged unit for Slanesh outside of the skirmish cav, and an armor piercing one at that, so going to be very dangerous, a very big addition, going to help with their anti-large needs a lot. A bit shorter in the range at only 130 as crossbows tend to do, but still very dangerous, very useful for the faction, and not totally useless in melee, so just all round a great new addition for Slanesh. And then the one you've been waiting for, you little pervert, it's the Pleasure Seekers, aka Titty Snakes. These are a monstrous cavalry with pretty tasty stats all across the all across the board. Very fast at 100 speed, lacking in the armor a bit though, but physical resistance, they're a demon after all. Got Vanguard deployment, got Devastating Flanker, and with a 60 charge bonus, that's going to become a 120 charge bonus, and that is terrifying. So a very hard-hitting cavalry that's going to be especially dangerous on the rear charge. Whether they're charging into infantry, cavalry monsters, they're going to be very powerful. Oh, and also they have an ability that will heal them when there's routing units nearby, so they can be pretty tough as well. Slanesh, though, of course, already has a whole bunch of fast cavalry, so not adding anything greatly new to the roster, just maybe a bit tougher and stronger. And then a regiment of renowned Seeker Chariot, the Heralds of Excess. This is basically the same thing, improved stats, but has perfect vigor, so it will never get tired, never get any stat penalties, and always operate at full max damage output. Nasty. And then possibly one of the coolest looking units in the DLC, the Champions of Slanesh. Their stats actually quite similar to the Pleasure Seekers, I've just noticed. They got magical attacks, armor piercing, bonus versus infantry though, so they want to focus the infantry. Bigger weapon strength though, so they should be dishing out more damage overall. Devastating Flanker as well, so again, get them on the hammer and anvil, they're going to be absolutely disgusting. So yeah, more speedy, nasty damage dealing for Slanesh, what a surprise. And then there's a Reggie version, the Pleasure Guard. The same thing basically, improved stats of course, but these ones are unbreakable and they have unyielding assault, so their melee attack will never go down. So just unstoppable, juiced up champions of Slanesh. And finally, the Praeton, a flying monster, a pretty big deal for Slanesh because they only have Furies as their only flying unit otherwise. So this is a bit of a weird monster that largely revolves around its ability, All-Consuming Hatred, which will lower its melee defense to about 6 or something, but give it a 28 damage reflection. So every time it gets hit, it's going to give back 28 damage to whoever attacked it. In a pile of infantry or cavalry, that's going to be pretty powerful, maybe monstrous infantry too, but with a bonus versus large, it may be looking to be more of a cav or monstrous infantry killer than anything else, but also has devastating flanker, frenzy, endless malice, which will give it a damage boost whenever there's routing units nearby. So yeah, seems like quite a purpose-driven monster, doesn't have the best armor or melee attack, so don't leave it in combat too long unless you've got that ability active. An interesting addition for the Slanesh roster indeed. And it doesn't end there because there's a Regiment of Renown version as well, the Scourge of Ardennes. Basically the same thing, got those same abilities, but now it has the ability to not only hide in the forest, but also strider so it won't get slowed down by forest. And while that might not sound that exciting, it's actually quite unique for a flying monster to be able to hide in the forest because none of them generally can. So you can launch some stealthy attacks with this thing, creep it through a forest and then set it flying and get after whatever you want to. So pretty cool as a stealthy flying option because there aren't really many of those. And there we go, all the units in the Tides of Torment DLC. Here's a bunch of other stuff for Tides of Torment if you're interested. Otherwise, I thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. Consider supporting the channel through Patreon or YouTube memberships if you wish. Otherwise, I will see you in the future.
That's pretty funny. I swear I remember there being a way across. Oh. You definitely need the damn. Definitely need the extra speed. No, fuck me. Actual retardism. Okay then. I knew there had to be a better way. This just looked kind of sketchy last time I did it, so I didn't want to do it again. Of course, I forgot that the other one doesn't even connect.
Illuminate your path. Goddess bless you. Go in peace.
Have a good one. Be good. Keep it real. Have a good one. Be good. Keep it real.
Time is money, friend.
Time is money, friend.
It's been a while. Sup, y'all? It's me. It's your boy Asmongold, and today I want to talk to you all about the state of Battle for Azeroth. Now, it's been a while since I've made a video. I know that. I just want to address the elephant in the room, and I'm sorry. Maybe I'll make more soon, but it depends on how things go. The truth is that it's been kind of frustrating for me to make videos because I really don't like the direction the game has gone in recently, and it just seems to be getting worse. I want to talk to you all about why, and I also want to say that in my over 12 years of playing this game, there has not been a single expansion, including Warlords of Draenor, that has gotten a more negative reception than Battle for Azeroth. If I go on Reddit, people are complaining. If I go into general forums, well, they're always complaining, but they're complaining now too, and there's a lot more of them. If I go on Twitter, they're complaining. Any place that I can receive feedback about the game or view how people are seeing the game is overwhelmingly negative. All of the videos that people have been making have been overwhelmingly negative, or they've just been completely uninformed. It seems like there's a lot of people that don't like Battle for Azeroth, and I think there's a very, 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 very big reason for that. Did I say very? I don't know if I did. Is because people are realizing that they're rats in a Skinner box, and it's been a while. It's been, you know, I feel like I'm the old crazy guy. Well, I do feel that way, but I feel like that way even more with WoW. I feel like I'm the old crazy guy, the kooky crazy guy who's predicted the end of the world, and now people are finally starting to wake up and realize that I wasn't wrong. It's in Mists of Pandaria, they introduced this Titan Forging, not Titan Forging, sorry, that wasn't until Legion. The Thunder Forging, and then War Forging, and then War Forging with sockets and WoD. And then I was telling people like, yo, this is bullshit. They're just doing this to extend the time that you play the game. This isn't fun at all. Who has fun whenever you get a War Forged item? Is it more fun to get a War Forged item than it was to just get the baseline item? Probably not.
No, they're doing this just to extend your playtime. And obviously, yes, RNG is good to an extent, but there's a huge fucking difference. There's a world of difference between an 8% item drop and a 0.00008% item drop with Max Titan Forge, the socket that you want, and also the tertiary that you'd like to see. All of those things having to happen and all of those stars having to align is much different in a completely different world than just having to have an item drop that has an 8% drop chance from a boss back in Cataclysm or Wrath of the Lich King or any time before that. So the idea that they're similar is completely fucking ridiculous. Now, going back to what I was saying is that, you know, and then in Legion, so we got the legendary system, that was fun, and then you had Titan Forging, which was so much more fun. And then, now in Battle for Azeroth, they did remove Weapon Titan Forging, which was good, right? But I mean, at the end of the day, you still have the normal Titan Forging. The truth is that there is no there's no sort of power gain that a player can have that is exclusive to that player being good at the game. There is nothing that a mythic raider can have that makes their character more powerful that another random player cannot receive just by being lucky. Getting lucky, it doesn't feel good. It's just like, oh wow, I'm lucky. Blizzard has traded out fulfillment. Blizzard has traded out being able to come home after a week of farming, being able to come home and know that you have enough arena points to buy your Season 4 mace. I'll tell you guys a story real quick before I get into this, and this will be a way for you guys to understand where I'm coming from. There was my first semester in community college, all right? That was a bad time, all right? It was long enough ago that it was in Burning Crusade. I got my statistics test back, and I looked at that 57, or is it 37? I don't know. I failed. I dropped the class. It didn't matter. By the way, I came back a few years later. I got an A in it. I'm not that stupid. But the point is, I got the test, and I took that 57. I took that 37 with a smile because I knew later on that day I was going to go home and buy my Season 4 mace. The idea, the fulfillment of being able to get things in WoW is completely fucking gone. They have traded the fulfillment. They have traded the satisfaction of the game for excitement and gambling. The fact is that there are so many fucking games that have turned into basically just being a slot machine and just infinitely more and more carrots that they're going to put in front of you that are ever increasing in the velocity and like the rate that you have to get them in, right? And eventually you give people too many fucking carrots and they're gonna get fed up. And that's what's happening. That is what's happened. It started happening in Mists of Pandaria. It started happening in WoD. People really didn't like it in WoD. That was because the expansion sucked. Legion was actually pretty good, so people didn't care as much because the rest of the gameplay was fun. And then, surprise, add in a GCD change and a couple of other bullshit mechanics that nobody wanted, like Azerite gear and removing the legendary affixes and the different traits, and not adding a new a new talent ring, and then basically being able to level up your character, which just feels like more like you're leveling down your character. I feel like I'm going back down to level 100 than not up to 120. And at the same time, yeah, people are getting fucking tired of this shit. They realize they're rats, and as I said, rats in a Skinner box. This is variable reinforcement schedule. This is psychology 101, psychological tricks. And the fact is that, man, like, people don't like this shit. They don't like it. And I think the problem, man, I use a metaphor here. The problem isn't the tree, okay? The problem isn't the leaves, it's not the branches, it's not even the trunk, it is the seed. The problem is the seed in which the game has grown out of. The philosophy that Blizzard has used to craft these recent expansions has been built entirely around excitement and not fulfillment. There is nothing that you can work towards anymore. There is nothing that matters anymore that you can work towards. Getting your neck a high level, who gives a fuck? Doesn't matter. Wow, you can go unlock an Azerite trait that you already had whenever you were in blues. It's like you're progressively moving backwards with your Azerite gear, and then you finally get a piece of gear that, by the way, you have no control over at all. Why did Blizzard think this was a good idea? Because, again, they're obsessed with RNG, and it's like, I don't understand how it's gotten this bad. I really don't. I don't understand how the developers have gotten so out of touch with the game. And I hate to say this, man, but I want to know, I want to see the armories of these developers. I want to see their parsers. I want to see how they play. I want to see what they're good at. I want to see, you know, what their achievements are, what their experience with the game is, because it certainly fucking seems like they don't even play. How the fuck can you think the legendary system in Legion was a good idea? How the fuck can you think something like the Azerite system, especially on launch, was okay? And let's be honest. I mean, yeah, Battle for Azeroth, the joke
beta for Azeroth, yeah, it had a lot of bugs in it. I get that. It had so many bugs it could be AQ. Haha. It's just, I don't understand. Like, to me, the bug issue is not that bad of a thing. And I do want to just mention that, like, right as an aside right now, I don't really give a fuck about the bugs. What I do care about is the class design decisions. And I care about the intentional things that are wrong, not the things that are on accident. But I'll have to, I guess, for a lot of the bugs, we'll have to wait for them to manifest themselves in a Mythic Plus tournament for them to actually be able to be fixed. So anyway, going back to what I was saying about the seed. The seed in this game, the philosophy in this game, is all about excitement. It's all about random reward. It's about creating a uniform experience that all players go through without anybody being able to get too far ahead or anybody being able to get too far behind. It's about creating an experience. It doesn't matter if you're an LFR raider. It doesn't matter if you don't raid at all. If you're stepping into a dungeon, you're stepping into a raid, you're stepping into the same raid, the same dungeon that the best player in the world is stepping into. There's no growth. There's no visual growth of your character. There's nothing that your character is getting because you're very good at the game. There's, except for cosmetic rewards that nobody gives a fuck about. Obviously, mounts are very important, which, by the way, Gahoon doesn't drop a mount. But for the most part, I mean, what really motivates most players is growth and power rewards for their character. Being able to have a visual representation of what they've achieved in the game. There are no visual representations for that people really care about anymore. You can do a little bit more damage, but again, that's also limited by RNG, because of course now you don't even have Master Loot anymore. So, and Blizzard, like, whoever the fuck thought of that should be fired. Like, I legitimately do not understand. As I said before, I want to know, like, do these people even raid? Do they even play the fucking game? These decisions seem like they're so out of touch that it seems like they were created out of a spreadsheet and not out of love for the game. They're making decisions based off of analytics and not off of enjoyment. They're making decisions based off of metrics and not out of fun. Like, what's fun about leveling up your necklace that does nothing? You can't even click on it. Nothing is fun about the necklace. Nothing is fun about losing your Azerite traits and then reclaiming them, you know, in a few weeks after, you know, the throttling mechanism for the Azerite armor, the Azerite amount of, like, Azerite power that you get has brought you up to a point to where you're able to get that along with everybody else. There's nothing fulfilling about that. And that's really the issue, is that I feel like they've just removed all fulfillment from the game, and people are starting to realize this and are starting to ask themselves, why am I playing a gambling simulator? I might as well just buy a ticket to Las Vegas. This is ridiculous. So I feel like these developers, right, they don't understand. And then also, let me go back to this. The Azerite armor. I forgot who said this in the Q&A. This is just an unfortunate reality of the system. No, it's not, bro. Like, you made the system. You are literally God. You are God. You can change the system to be however you want. Don't tell me this is an unfortunate reality of a system that you have complete control over, that you can change and do whatever you want with. I'm not saying that they should delete Azerite armor. I would actually like them to make it work. But the idea that you can't change the system, this is just an unfortunate reality, is fucking bullshit. It just is. I'm sorry. Like, I'm so sick of getting these answers that basically you don't know what you want. And I think to an extent that's true, right? The stat templates in Legion. Players all wanted stat templates in Legion. Oh, we want it to be fair. We care about PvP for a fair and balanced experience. Meanwhile, people like me, like I said, man, people don't care about that. They want to get a new weapon and beat the shit out of somebody in 2 hits because they spend more time playing the game. That's what it's always been about. It's always been about the, you know, it's like the Star Wars thing, the master and the apprentice. The master, with WoW, it's the neckbeard and the nub, right? The neckbeard has the power, the nub craves the power, the nub gets better, he beats the neckbeard, and the process repeats itself. That is a beautiful cycle of life in WoW, and now it doesn't matter if you're a neckbeard or a nub, because you're all going to look the same, and maybe you're going to do a little bit more DPS. It just doesn't make a difference at all. Oh, if you get lucky, though. The developers, I really feel like the problem is the developers have no way to communicate with the player base. They don't talk on Twitter. They don't read the general forums, thank God. They don't read Reddit. They don't watch the videos, or at least they don't care, trust me. They don't watch streams. You know, they certainly don't watch streams, trust me on that too. They just don't really care. These things, they don't matter to the developers, so they have no way to communicate with the player base.
The developers never sit down, I don't think, or at least maybe some of them do, but it certainly doesn't seem that way, and they don't interface with the community. What happens is one fucking dipshit goes on Twitter and makes a personal attack on one of the developers. He's like, oh, you're fat, or even worse, he does something like, oh, I'm going to attack you in real life. He makes a real life threat. And then the developer says, okay, well, you know, I'm not going to interface with the community anymore. Well, yeah, okay, let me just say, let me do the crazy, you know, let me get on my soapbox and say that, yes, making personal attacks to people over video game, especially if they're threats, yeah, it's fucking ridiculous. Nobody should do that. You should get banned from Twitter, should get banned from whatever else. If the threat is credible, the police should go to his house and ask him why the fuck. They shouldn't put him in jail. They should put him in a mental institution because you're so fucking stupid that you're going to threaten somebody, you're going to threaten to kill somebody over a fucking video game. Like, the idea that this kind of stuff is acceptable is ridiculous. Of course it's not acceptable, but the idea that because a developer gets negative feedback on Twitter, because a developer gets, or a community manager, or somebody gets negative feedback on Twitter or somewhere else, means that they should just withdraw from the entire community is hurting everyone. And it's hurting, and it's making it harder for people to make the game better. It's making it harder for people to make what they love, World of Warcraft, that they've loved for some people over a decade, make the game into something that they can continue to love. So people that grow up and they play the game today can have the same experience that that person had, that I had back whenever I was 16 years old. That's what people want to have. And whenever you have people that just withdraw from the entire community just because of negative feedback, that's never going to happen. At this point, do we need community managers for the community managers? I hope not. So here's what I think Blizzard should do. They should create an official forum on their official websites, and it should be about feedback and suggestions, and it should be serious. No level 1 trolling, no trolling period. No people posting just to be antagonistic or just to stoke the fire and just make people angry, but legitimate feedback from legitimate people that's well thought out. And anything that's not that gets deleted. It would be very simple for Blizzard to do that. They could curate the entire experience, and it would be a way for them to curate communication and be able to get that criticism and be able to act on it if they agree. But I think the problem also is that they simply do not agree. The players and the developers have two different visions for the game, and I think that's it's very clear evidenced by the fact that there are no vendors for gear in the game. Players have wanted PvP vendors back for years, and they haven't gotten them. Players have wanted different vendors for anything back, and they haven't gotten them. There's no Valor point. All the personal loot thing has done is it's created even more negative social. Sup, y'all? It's me. It's your boy Asmongold, and today I'm feeling a little bit nostalgic. I'm sitting here in my room. It's dark. I've got basically all of the lights off except for one in front of my monitor glow. It's 3 in the morning, and I'm about to make a video complaining about World of Warcraft. I'm feeling pretty familiar, and to be honest, I'm feeling pretty good about it too. Guys, today Blizzard has announced probably one of the stupidest decisions that they've ever done in the entire history of the game, and that's saying a lot. And by far, the dumbest decision that they've made in all of Battle for Azeroth so far. Guys, it is so stupid that it's brought me out of hibernation of making videos to come back and discuss this. The change. Blizzard has announced today, Ian Azakostas has announced today in the Q&A, be tomorrow for you guys actually, but anyway, they have announced that they will be removing the option for guilds to choose to use Master Loot in any capacity whatsoever. This is basically what they've said, and their reasoning behind it is honestly probably even stupider than the change itself, and I want to go through all of that. But before I do, I want to go ahead and create some context. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. People that probably haven't seen a lot of my videos are thinking, okay, yeah, you're right. The guy that made the guide on ninja looting is complaining about master looting being taken out of the game. Okay, yeah, we see what's going on here. Guys, let's be honest. Ninja looting hasn't been a thing since WoD. You can't really ninja loot anything anymore because you have to have 80% of the group in the same guild to even activate Master Looter in the first place. I thought that was a stupid change whenever they did it at the Legion pre-patch, and a lot of you guys disagreed with me. I still think it's stupid, but compared to this, I feel like that was a divinely inspired, amazing, brilliant idea. The idea that they're going to completely get rid of Master Loot for all guilds is completely counterintuitive to the way that guilds function, and also it's purely punishing players for the actions of literally less than 1%. So whenever we're looking at Mythic Raiders, we're already looking at a 1%, and whenever we're looking at Mythic Raiders who compete on a world-class level, we're looking at a 1% of a 1% of probably another 1% on top of that. We're really looking at dozens of people that are changing the entire game for thousands of people. So the reason that they're making this change is basically, well, there's two reasons. One of the reasons is they said, well, since they don't have tier sets anymore, this rationalizes it. This does not rationalize it at all, because people used loot distribution methods like Master Loot and DKP and EPGP and all this other stuff for trinkets and just for other items as well. It's not like you only used Loot Council for tier pieces. And this is also coming from somebody that doesn't, I'm not really raiding anymore. I don't have a lot of skin in the game. But to be honest, if a change like this does go through, I'm probably going to stay that way. So I'll go ahead and I might talk about that a little bit more towards the end of the video. But I'll go ahead and I'll go back to the other reason that Blizzard has for potentially, or at least throwing out the idea. They said they want feedback, by the way. So here we go. The suggestion, or the reason that they're doing this suggestion, or the reason that they're thinking about doing this, excuse me, I confused myself there, is basically split rating. You know that thing that only dozens of people do? Well, yeah, that's the reason they're changing the entire game for everyone. You know, because the top 50 guilds are the ones that completely determine how everybody else has to progress in Mythic. Because they want to poop socket for an entire week or 2 weeks and do heroic clears on every single one of their characters. Now, every single other dumbass guild that wants to try and kill Garathi Worldbreaker and make sure that people actually showed up for the 200 attempts that it took them to kill the boss, actually get some pieces of gear, now they can't do that anymore. Now, personal loot does give more loot. That's great. I think personal loot's great. I have a lot of problems with personal loot too. You know, I'm an old school player, so like, I'm kind of resistant to change, etc. Vanilla, by the way. Classic, by the way, etc. But listen, personal loot's fine. You know what's not? Forced personal loot. We already had a foray into this with the Argus Pantheon trinkets, right? And we've got people who have gotten 10 Argus kills and they still don't have the trinket. What a great system, and they're now arbitrarily put at a disadvantage because of the game. This has been the history of Legion, right? You've had legendaries, you've had the artifact power stuff. It's basically players who do not necessarily take part in contrived and repetitive elements of gameplay, or players who do not get incredibly lucky, are basically fucked for this expansion. And this happened in Nighthold with legendaries, and Nighthold with the, with the traits, for having 54 traits. It happened with TOS, with not being a rogue or a moonkin. It's happened in basically every single patch, but to be honest, the Antorus Pantheon trinkets are not necessarily that bad. But I do think that this was kind of a way for them to kind of test the waters to see how exactly is, how exactly your player is going to respond to making things force personal loot. Now, again, I want to re-emphasize this. I don't have a problem, really, with the current system. I think that the current system is...
That was 7-ish years ago. Good stuff. 7 years ago. Very old. At this point, it's been normal for so long. Remember Master Loot? I miss it, kind of, maybe? Just don't see the point in taking it out. Like guilds to use? You can try and find a guild that doesn't use it. You don't need, like, doesn't make any sense.